Work and learn. Meet Light Meet Max. සක්‍රිය කර ගැනීමට MySLT app එකට log වෙන්න. Work and learn. Meet Light Meet Max. සක්‍රිය කර ගැනීමට MySLT app එකට log වෙන්න.
On 1st at 9 this Saturday, the 12th of November 2022. The potential of alternatives. Sri Lanka needs international support to explore potential for renewable energy, says Minister of Power and Energy Kanchana Wijesekara. No ROI. Audit report reveals that the Employee Provident Fund received no benefit from the 5 billion rupee investment made 8 years ago. Charged. National Investigation Agency in India files charge sheet against 3 Indians for attempting to revive LTT. Temporary freedom. Inmate escaped from Kandakadu Rehabilitation Centre dies from starvation.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9 with Andrew Bernard. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Very good evening and welcome to AdaDerana 24's English News. I'm Andrew Bernard. Now, the Minister of Power and Energy Kanchana Wijesekara said that Sri Lanka requires financial and technical assistance from developed countries in order to explore the vast potential the country has in terms of renewable energy. Speaking at an event held on the sidelines of COP27, the minister added that the government of Sri Lanka aspires for the country to be an energy independent and serve as a hub of energy to the South Asian region, as the island's renewable energy potential exceeds the requirements of the country. Minister of Power and Energy Kanchana Wijesekara took part in the side event of COP27, themed intersection of surging energy prices and fossil fuel subsidies, a window for action, in Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt.
One of the first things that we managed to do in the last 6 months is to cut down all the subsidies that were given for petroleum product usage in Sri Lanka, which meant 2 things. One was we were facing economic crisis, which we are still battling. That meant that our energy bill, what we import, was drastically reduced by 40% for the last 6 months. The management system meant that the usage of fossil fuel by the public became much less with the subsidies being taken out. And we've seen that over the last 6 months, even with the small quantities that we've imported to the country, we've managed to keep the businesses going, we've managed to keep the agriculture sector going, we've managed to keep the health sector going, we managed to keep the power sector going. So all these have been managed with a management of a fuel system, guaranteeing a quota of fuel every week for the public, but also making sure that there's enough fuel available for food security, for agriculture, fisheries, and those sort of things. And also another thing that we've done in the last 6 months is, with the new president in charge of the Sri Lanka government right now, what we managed to do is restructure the energy and the power sectors. The power and the energy sectors both have been monopolies of the government. So we've opened it up for the private sector to be stakeholders, and also looking at an energy mix, which we committed to in COP26, 70-30 renewable energy goals by 2030. I would say which we have achieved 70% renewable energy generation in our energy mix even in 2022. We've cut down on most of the thermal power plants that we've been using. We've used more hydro, we've used more renewable energy, we've used more wind, we've used more solar facilities, and the government has also introduced new incentives for new developers who are willing to develop into solar and the wind capability that we do have. What we've seen in the last 6 months is, with the cut down on fossil fuel, it's something that's achievable. It's something achievable with going more into renewable energy, which has an immense potential in Sri Lanka. But the challenges that we do face is the potential that we do possess exceeds our requirements. So what are we going to do with the excess amounts of energy that we produce in terms of solar, in terms of offshore wind, in terms of green hydrogen? So we are discussing with the Indian government as well for a grid connectivity, so which we will look into the future, maybe export or share energy, and we want to be a country where we are energy independent. Right now we spend about $600 million monthly on energy import bills, but we've reduced that drastically over the last few months, and we hope to head in that same direction. And also the legal framework and the policies that we've been speaking about for decades, we managed to speed through them, implement them with the crisis in hand. I see this crisis as an opportunity for Sri Lanka to achieve its energy targets, but we do need the technical assistance and the financial assistance of developed countries. Though we don't contribute immensely into carbon emissions in the world, we're still a country that doesn't depend too much on fossil fuel, but we do need the technical assistance and the financial assistance needed for local developers or even developers from other countries to come and use the potentials that we do have to offer in Sri Lanka. So with that, we hope we could be an energy hub that shares our energy exports with the regional countries. The other challenge that we've had with the energy prices subsidies that we've cut down is that once we have cut down all the subsidies, it's very difficult for a country like us to compete with neighboring regional countries like India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, who are also in the same trade of exporting apparels, maybe agricultural products. So we need to keep in line with that as well. So it has had drawbacks on our export income, but we are committed to seeing it through. We are committed to seeing the no new coal policy. So the only plant with our coal supply, we are hoping to decommission it by 2030, 2035. We are committed to those goals, and with the new policy and the legal framework being implemented, we hope that we can be an energy independent country.
Now, the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation announced yesterday that the prices of auto diesel and kerosene have been increased. Following the revisal of these prices of auto diesel and kerosene, the price of a litre of kerosene has been increased by 15 rupees, while a litre of kerosene has been increased by 25 rupees. As such, the price of a litre of auto diesel, which prevailed at 45 rupees, is now 430 rupees. The new price of a litre of kerosene is now 365 rupees. Meanwhile, the Indian Oil Corporation announced that they will increase the price of litre of auto diesel by 15 rupees from tonight as well. Now, Indian media reported that the National Investigation Agency of India had filed charges against 3 people over attempts to trying to resurrect the terrorist organization LTT. The NIA stated that the trio had created an organization known as the World Tamil Justice Court after deriving inspiration from the LTT, and had planned to stage an attack on the Mullaivaikal Remembrance Day. The Press Trust of India reported that the National Investigation Agency had filed a charge sheet against 3 supporters of the LTT who were planning terrorist attacks to revive the prescribed terrorist group in Tamil Nadu. The Omalur police initially detained the 3 men in May while conducting a vehicle inspection after finding weapons on them. The accused were then taken into custody by the NIA for questioning, and a case was opened against them. The NIA said investigations have established that the 3 accused had conspired and associated themselves with the Liberation Tigers of Tamil Eelam, a terrorist organization, and created an organization called the World Tamil Justice Court. The spokesperson said that they had made plans to attack people who work in quarries, crushers, and Tasmac liquor shops by using illegal firearms, lethal weapons, and explosive substances, and also cause destruction to property. According to the NIA, the trio decided to launch the attack on the 18th of May 2022 on the Mullaivaikal Remembrance Day. The spokesperson added that the accused believed that these terrorist acts would spread terror among the people and send a strong message to the general public and government that an LTT-type organization has been successfully revived and resurrected in Tamil Nadu. Now, the National Council Subcommittee on National Policy has decided to appoint a subcommittee in order to bring proposals that would ensure food security in the country. The basic proposals were discussed on how to change the policies and the existing obstacles to achieve goals related to food security. The National Council Subcommittee on National Policy, which convened on the 10th of November, decided to appoint a subcommittee made up of representatives of all the relevant institutions to formulate policies related to ensuring food security in the country. This was decided at a meeting of the National Council Subcommittee on Identifying Short and Medium-Term Programs related to the national policy, chaired by MP Namal Rajapaksa. Officials from the Ministry of Agriculture and Ministry of Fisheries, as well as other institutions under the said ministries, were invited to this meeting, and basic proposals were discussed on how to change the policies and the existing obstacles to achieve the goals related to food security. Instead of these institutions trying to achieve their goals separately, the committee chairman emphasized the need for all institutions to enter into a joint approach. Accordingly, apart from the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries, the subcommittee also advised to plan these policies jointly with the Ministry of Irrigation, Ministry of Lands, provincial councils and local government institutions, Department of Wildlife Conservation and all other relevant institutions. Now, the police stated that an inmate who had escaped from the Kandakadu Rehabilitation Centre during the tense situation that broke out last Sunday had died from starvation. Army personnel had reportedly found the inmate on the road after he had been lost wandering in a jungle in Valikanda for over several days without food. An inmate among the escapees from Kandakadu Rehabilitation Centre, who was apprehended at a jungle in Valikanda, has died while receiving medical treatment. The police and army personnel had found him on the 10th of November while wandering in the Valikanda Trikonakanda Forest Reserve. He had been lost in the jungle without food for several days. He was admitted to the Polonnaruwa hospital in a starving condition and was pronounced dead last night. The deceased was identified as a 31-year-old who was referred to the Kandakadu facility by the Kadula Magistrates Court for rehabilitation. On the 6th of November, a clash was reported between two groups of inmates at the facility. Due to the escalating situation, at least 50 inmates had used the chaos to escape. The police and army were called in for assistance to take the situation under control, following which a special search operation was subsequently launched to apprehend the escapees. Following the tense situation, 301 inmates in total have been sent back for rehabilitation, while 215 inmates who were involved in the clash were remanded until the 17th of November. Now stay with us to find out what the Sri Lankan refugees saved by the Vietnamese officials on Tuesday after the boat capsized in the Japanese Sea had appealed for. After this short commercial break.
Big 3.
Welcome back. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs says it is working closely with the relevant parties for the early release of 9 Sri Lankan nationals who were part of a 26-member crew of the oil tanker MT Heroic Idun, which was detained by Equatorial Guinea in early August. According to the Foreign Ministry, the Sri Lankan High Commission in Nairobi, Kenya is in contact with Sri Lankan nationals in question. The vessel's crew also includes 16 sailors from India, 1 from Poland and another from the Philippines. The sailors were taken into custody in international waters on the 12th of August, allegedly for not displaying the flag of Equatorial Guinea, and have been in detention for more than 80 days since detention. The vessel's crew members have recorded videos and made phone calls to their families and authorities of their respective countries seeking help to ensure their release. Welcome back. In your business news, the National Audit Office recently identified that the Employee Provident Fund has not received any benefit from the 5 billion rupee investment made by the fund 8 years ago for the construction of Canville Holdings Hotel Complex. Several other instances of financial mismanagement were identified by the National Audit Office in its most recent financial report on the performance of the Employee Provident Fund.
The latest financial report released by the National Audit Office exposed billions of rupees of losses incurred by the Employee Provident Fund due to management and operational inefficiencies. The report states that the fund had lost 205.49 million rupees due to the cancellation of the license of the finance company as at the 31st of December 2021. 53% of the equity investment of unlisted companies amounting to 5 billion rupees was invested for the construction of Canville Holdings Hotel Complex in the year 2013 and the construction work of the Grand Hyatt Colombo. However, since the construction work of the hotel complex had not been completed by the 27th of December 2021 as planned, the fund had not received any benefit from the investment 8 years since it was first made. The report also highlighted an incident where 15,000 cards had been purchased at a cost of 12.61 million rupees in 2008 for issuing new identity cards to the members of the fund and for re-registration, which remained unused. Furthermore, only 2 machines out of 35 machines purchased at a cost of 17.67 million rupees for this project had been disposed, and appropriate action had not been taken regarding the remaining 33 machines.
Now, according to the central bank, Sri Lanka has recorded an income of $355.4 million through workers' remittances in the month of October 2022. While remittances have increased by $38 million in comparison to October last year, the figure is a slight decrease compared to September of this year, where $359 million were recorded as foreign worker remittances. Accordingly, the cumulative value of remittances from January to October 2022 stands at $2,929.4 million. This value is much lower than the remittances figures recorded in the same period for 2021, where a sum of $4,894.4 million were recorded from January to October. Now, the crypto exchange FTX filed for US bankruptcy yesterday, and Sam Bankman-Fried stepped down as CEO after a liquidity crisis that has prompted intervention from regulators around the world. Shares of cryptocurrency and blockchain-related firms dropped yesterday after FTX, one of the biggest crypto exchanges, said it would initiate bankruptcy proceedings in the United States, triggering a potentially massive meltdown in the industry.
FTX Trading yesterday filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, capping a sudden and startling downfall for one of the world's biggest cryptocurrency exchanges. Founder and CEO Sam Bankman-Fried also resigned from the company, which appointed John J. Ray III as the new chief executive. According to a statement, Bankman-Fried plans to stay with FTX while it works through the bankruptcy process. The newly appointed CEO, John J. Ray, stated that the immediate relief of Chapter 11 is appropriate to provide the FTX Group the opportunity to assess its situation and develop a process to maximize recoveries for stakeholders. FTX's problems came into light earlier this week when Bankman-Fried told a group of investors that the company needed about $8 billion to back up its users' crypto assets. He also warned that the company might have to file for bankruptcy without an imminent infusion of cash. FTX's move marks the third crypto company to seek bankruptcy protection this year, following Voyager Digital and Celsius Network. The filing also clouds the fate of BlockFi, a crypto lender that FTX helped bail out with $400 million earlier this year.
Now, US stocks slipped yesterday off the back of the decline in cryptocurrencies after posting the highest rally since 2020. However, hopes that inflation is subsiding are fueling a surge in battered technology and mega-cap stocks, though some investors believe still high valuations and doubts over the company's earnings outlooks may make a sustained reversal elusive. Meanwhile, other markets worldwide gained during the week subsequent to the optimistic report on US consumer prices.
US stocks slipped yesterday after posting their biggest one-day rally since 2020 as a decline in cryptocurrencies weighed on the broader market. Although US stocks slipped yesterday, the tech-heavy Nasdaq Composite Index rose 8.1% during the week to notch its biggest weekly gain since March, one of the several eye-popping market moves that also saw treasuries soar and US dollar tumble after Thursday's softer-than-expected inflation data spurred hopes the Federal Reserve could temper its rate hikes. In the coming week, investors will be watching a spate of economic data, including retail sales numbers, on Wednesday for more clues on whether the Fed's monetary policy tightening is cooling the economy. The pan-European stock 600 closed fractionally above the flat line, having given up earlier gains of around 0.7%. Basic resources ended 2.6% higher, while the healthcare stocks fell by 2.4%. The European Blue Chip Index closed 2.8% higher on Thursday after the release of the US Consumer Price Index, which sent major averages stateside to their biggest one-day rallies since 2020. Markets are hoping the data could encourage the US Federal Reserve to ease its aggressive monetary policy tightening. Investor optimism was boosted early yesterday after China said it would ease some of its COVID measures, which sent the Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index soaring more than 7% overnight.
And that concludes today's edition of First at 9. Join us again tomorrow at the same time for the very latest news. Until then, visit our website www.AdaDerana.lk for more news. Have a pleasant evening. Good night.
For news and information you can trust 24 hours a day, visit AdaDerana.lk.